Welcome everybody, Chris Cox here for a Black Sabbath guitar lesson. Today we're going to do Snowblind off of Volume 4, which is probably my favorite of all time Black Sabbath songs. I should kind of talk about the tuning first before we get going. So Tony Iommi tuned down to C sharp for this song, which is, real common. That's a whole and a half step down for a lot of Sabbath tunes. I never keep my guitars tuned that way, so I tune most of my guitars to E flat, and so I basically learned the song in E flat, and I like playing it like this because one, I don't have to change my tuning, I can play along with the record, and it'll work, and it's not a lot of awkward fingerings or anything, so everything works well. So I'm going to show you guys how to play this song in E flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the intro riff. Alright, so lots of 5 chords or bar chords or power chords, how you want to describe them. So the first one's going to start as a D5, and that's going to be 5th fret of the A, 7th fret of the D. So we're going to go, and then we're going to shift to E5, which is 2 frets down. Same position, but we're going to be switching to the 7th fret of the A, 9th fret of the D. And then we're going to go a half step down and play the 8th fret of the A and the 10th fret of the D. So we have this. Now we're going to keep that same kind of position. We're going to come back up here to C5. And that's going to be 3rd fret of the A, 5th fret of the D, and then we're coming back to the D5. So we have this so far. Alright, so the next part is going to be an A sharp major. So it's, and then we're going to play a C major. So the picking pattern, let me tell you what the chords the fretting is like for the chords. So the first thing, you're going to have your first finger on the first fret of the A string. You're going to take your ring finger and you're going to basically lay your, kind of flatten out your finger so that you can fret on the 3rd fret of the D, G, and B. So we got, so that's going to be A, D, G, back to D, B, G, D. So it's, then we're going to play, that's just going to be straight down, so you're going to go A, D, G, B, G, D. So it's together. Let me do this whole thing, we'll put it all together. Repeats again. Same thing. So if you notice the picking pattern change, so nothing about the chord change, but the picking pattern. So on that second pass through, it's just straight playing down. So A, D, G, B, G, D, shift to the C major. So it's just A, D, G, B, back to G, D. Okay, so we have the introduction riff. So I'm going to kind of show you guys in this lesson how I approach working out a new song. So basically I look at everything as parts or sections. And yes, song structure is, an introduction, verses, choruses, pre-choruses, bridges, endings. And you can look at it that way too, and I'll probably call it out like that, but I'm also going to refer to parts or sections. So we're going to consider that the very first part. Well, in this particular song, minus the outro solo, there are 6 different parts that have to be played to know the whole song. To me, when I think of it like that, I'm like, well, that's not too bad. Learning 6 different parts, and I'm going to have the whole song down. So this will be considered part 1. So this intro, I'm going to kind of refer to that as part 1. So this will also be the intro riff, but it's also part of the chorus. So if you have this part, the intro, then you've got the chorus already learned. Okay, so let's go to the verses. Now, that riff, we'll consider this whole part is going to be part 2 or section 2. And then we'll also, which will be the verses. So you're sliding, you're playing a C5 power chord, you're sliding that from C5 to D5, which is 2 frets down. So you're going, then you're coming back to the C, and then sliding back to the D. So it sounds like this. Then we'll come back to the C, 2 downstrokes, and we're going to do this little lick. And that's going to be, you're going to play on the 3rd fret of the A, you're going to hammer on here to the 5th fret of the A. So you're not actually going to pluck that string at one time. And while you're barring across the D string on the 3rd fret, you're going to pick that note. So it's hammer on, and then play the 3rd fret of the D. Doesn't sound very good slow, so it'll sound like this. Repeat it again. Now that goes through several times. That's basically the verses where Ozzy's singing the first verse. And then the second part of this part 2 or section 2 is going to be so that's going to be part 2 or section 2. So we do it's familiar power chords we've already played. We're playing them just in a different timing, a different feel. So it's going to be D, C, and we're going to add a B. So it's going to be 5th fret, 5th fret of the A, 7th fret of the D, 3rd fret A, 5th fret of the D, 2nd fret A, 4th fret of the D. So we have, and then we're going to grab the G note on the low E. This is the 3rd fret. So we have, we're coming back to the A sharp major, play it down. So that's just straight down. So A, D, G, B, and then we're going to come back down to the C5, where we're just going to play the A, D, and G. So it's just A, D, G. So we have repeats again. Goes back into the verse again. So that riff we already learned. Goes back into the verse again, so that riff we already learned. So we got the introduction riff, which is also going to be the chorus. Then we got the part of the section 2, which is going to be basically our verses. We got that little riff coming back. So for second verse is played the exact same way, except after we finish the second verse, we're doing this this little descending run, a riff. Repeats again. And now we're going to repeat section 1 or part 1 again, which is also the introduction riff. So we have learned a huge chunk of this song already. So for example, when you're playing this riff, that's the outro riff played under the ending solo. So if you're a newer guitar player and you haven't done solos very much, probably a good place. Now, I'll recommend this for all levels of guitar players, not just beginners, intermediate, advanced. It really doesn't matter. Rhythm guitar playing is 99 or 98% of most songs, and if you're not a good rhythm player, then your lead guitar solos, in my opinion, are going to kind of suffer. So don't skip to the solos. In other words, that's just a recommendation. You can learn any way you want to, but that's just from my experience of playing over the years. Rhythm is so important to your guitar playing. So I always learn all the rhythm parts before I even think about the guitar solo. Once I have those rhythm parts down, I can play underneath all the rhythm underneath the guitar solo, then I'm ready. So we're going to go to the bridge. Okay, so we'll consider this section 3 or part 3. So I'm going to play it for you. So it's your tune. Okay. Okay, so this will be the bridge, or we'll call it section 3. So one more time. So this will be considered the bridge, and it's also going to be the exact same chord pattern instruction that you're going to play, structure that you're going to play underneath the guitar solo. So there again, one part we've learned a big section of the song. So we're going to play basically a D5 chord. We're not going to play a traditional D major. So we're going to leave the high E out. So it's going to be open D, 2nd fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B. So we have, so that's D, G, D, B, G, D. Let me play that. I want you to keep that melody in mind as we change the bass notes, because pretty much the melody stays the same. The only thing that's really changed is the bass notes. You have D, bass note C, B, A sharp, A. So we'll play that again. Now we're going to grab with our middle finger. So you'll play C, which is 3rd fret of the A, D, G, and B. Now you're going to do this little switch. So if there's any awkward fingering in this song, this might be the hardest part. You're going to switch and put your middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G, and you're going to switch with the 1st finger to put on the 2nd fret of the B. So it sounds like, play that again. Okay, so that's probably, yeah, that's a little tricky there. So let's play this again. So we got D, G, B. Grab the C. Straight down, switch, grab the B. Again, same picking pattern, then we're going to change it. So that'd be the same picking pattern as when we were playing the very first part. And then when we go to the A, we're just going to play open A, D, and G and B strings. So we're going to skip the D string. So we have, and then back to the D. Play that for you slowly. Again. repeats again. Okay, so that is basically going to play through, I believe, 5 whole times, that whole part, before the solo starts. So once the solo starts, you just, if you want to play the rhythm part, just keep playing what you played there. And so there's only one more part of the song because everything else repeats. So that will be considered the bridge. So after the guitar solo, we're back into this. And then we play through that. We go through the kind of like end of the verse. Oops. Then we have this really odd place riff. I love this about Black Sabbath. Sometimes a riff is just kind of thrown in like that, that's just kind of out of nowhere. It kind of just makes your ears perk up a little bit. I feel that way about this riff. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? But it works great. So we'll consider this like, I guess, maybe the 5th part of the song, maybe the last part of the song. So again, just a small section we got to learn. So it's just, you're going to have your first finger here on the 5th fret of the A, and we're coming back and forth on the 8th fret of the A. So it's... So 2 plucks, then stop it, and then come back to the 5th fret of the A. So okay, so we have, and that's just coming back to the C5 power chording, going, so it's just a down up and then 1 down strum. So and Ozzy goes through and sings another part. It's almost like another verse. But once you play through that riff a few times, we come right back out of it and go. We're going to be playing most of this, well, I think about all this guitar solo is going to be around the D minor pentatonic scale. So that's... that first rock and roll scale you learn, the blues scale, minor pentatonic scales, very common scale. You can do endless things with this scale. So, and Tony Iommi will, as you'll see here as we learn this song, you can see he did he's very creative with it. So, the very first part is, so that's going to be 9th fret of the B to 13th fret of the B. So we have. So once you play, not 9th fret, 10th fret, I'm sorry about that, 10th fret of the B, 13th fret of the B. Then you're going to do a bend, so you kind of think like you're scooping or kind of scraping across the strings. And then a little bit of vibrato, so let's play that again. Stop the note and then scoop. And then you put a little vibrato there. The next part is, so again we're staying in that scale, and that's going to be 10th fret of the high E, 13th fret of the B, 10th fret of the B, 13th fret of the G, 12th fret of the G, 10th fret of the G, and then we're going to go. So you're going to play the D note on the 12th fret of the D string, and then you're going to just slide really quickly to the 5th fret on the D. So it's, so let's play that. And then it ends there on the 3rd fret of the D. Now we play this riff. And that's going to be 3rd fret of the A to 5th fret of the A. So we have, and you can play that, pluck that, or you can do a hammer on from the 3rd to 5th. So 3rd fret of the D, 5th fret of the D. So we're doing a pretty slow full bend down. So you're taking your, instead of bending up, with, since you're on the D string, you're going to want to pull that string down. So we're going to go. So that's going to be a quick bend down on the 5th fret of the D. So 3rd fret, back to the 5th fret of the D, come back to the 3rd fret of the A, and slide to the D, which is 2 frets away from the C. So that'll be the D note. So when we do a, so that's going to be hammer on from 3rd to 5 on A. And that's just a pivot back and forth from the 3rd fret of the D to the 5th fret of the A. And then we do this again. And then we kind of play that same part again. Nothing changes. Hammer on from 3 to 5. Big bend. And then I come back down here. Let's go back and play what we have so far. So we have come back down here to that D minor pentatonic shape, and we're still going to do this bend on the 13th fret of the B, but we're going to make it like a double stop, make it chordal. We're going to add the 10th fret of the high E. Now the 10th fret of the high E, you're not going to bend there. You're only going to bend on the B string. So we have same lick we played earlier. 10 of the high E, 13 of the B, 12th of the B, 10th of, excuse me, I'm sorry, I told you that wrong. So 10 on the high E, 13 of the B, 10 of the B, 13 of the G, 12 of the G, 10. So we'll do that again. You're going to stop, actually. Don't play the D note here. You're going to stop right here on the E note, or F note, excuse me, of the 10th fret of the G. So we have, then we're going to come down here on the 13th fret of the high E and go. So you take that all the way up a full bend, so it's 2 frets. So we have this. Now before you go back into this, that chordal thing again, it's just a bend up, come back, let it back down, but stop it. So that's a quick bend up on the 13th fret of the high E. Come back to the 10th fret. And then play the chordal riff again. That's 13B, 10th of the high E. Don't bend on the high E, only on the 13th fret of the B. And then we play that same riff again. One we played so many times in the solo. So that's 10, 13 of the B, 10th of the B, 13th of the G, 12th of the G, 10th of the G, 12th of the D. So